예, 다 본식 삼버셔 추지를 만들 때는 가르쳐서 추지가 나옵니다. 다만 루 추스로 와서 되는 시스 말에서 근데니다 디겐 초마더니 가르쳐 주 남든로 와서 되는 다더니 마더니 시에레스.
And so earlier today, we completed the first of the points of the four Dharmas of Gampopa. Please grant your blessings that my mind may turn towards the Dharma. And now we move on to the second point. Grant your blessings that the Dharma may go along the right path.
다든지 있나더니 땅가랑 속에 주바 되게 주바게 주면서냐 가랑 속에 뭐야 돼 간다리 세다더니 따와서 아니더니 따와 아니 곰바 주바스 아니 따곰 줬으니 냠설로 탈때근 드워서 된다 따곰 준지세는 되지요레스.
And so what is it that we practitioners of the practicing on the path need in order to gain the ultimate fruition? Then we need to possess the view, meditation, and conduct of the path. We must have the very ground.
로 추선 좋아하세요. 다더니 로 추선 좋아를 쉐발라 때문에 가르치는다. 가서 그래. 나가서 냠nen라 미시고 그랬대. 냠nen라 미시고 근데지데 아서 따던로 미시된 내용 받았더니 따와래서. 근데인데 나가서 때문에 가르치는데 따더니 쉐발 로 추선 좋아하세요. 됐더니 따와도 저는데 그랬더니 로 추선 좋아한테 따와. 추 남든 좋아한테 곰바를 왔더니. 네 가르치는데 lamtrvatani karsanatani taram se rongchotin ruati jubarvatani reji dalina tani karsan chano yisi yarvatani tartim jures tawa gomba juban ju jila jamni tan reji se chokres.
And so then this first point, may my mind turn towards the Dharma. What is it that we establish in this point? In this point, we establish a certainty in the Dharma, the ascertainment and certainty in the Dharma. And so this very first point, then we can connect this with the view. So may my mind be turned towards the Dharma is the view. And then the second point, may the Dharma go right along the path. Then this is the meditation, the practice. And then the third point, may confusion be dispelled along the path. And so this is the wisdom of meditation, the liberation, the natural arising and liberation of thoughts. So this one would be joined with the third point, the point of meditation. May the confusion be dispelled along the path. And then we have the fourth point, may a delusion arise as wisdom, which would be the final and ultimate fruition. So we have these four ways of looking at these four lines.
Tawa gomba juba de kajerin tawa de karsanatnita lo chusun roate tene karsanatni nishimena lo chusun rogmaratni te tawa resni ni tawa yuna te yunga nyamnen chegro watni tene chu lamdan rogro watni chu lamdan roate gomba res gomba ni gomba chesonga yina takare resnatni gomba yuna tene juba yor watni juba yong de ta juba ra sa angtotin rogde tatni karsanatni lam tingkatani chirwa tamji senro roate juba watni te juba res ene tartigtani karsanatni kansul tagun josum nyamsul lembege teni diyo tartig karsanatni jibotani monde cherwate teni koron darwatani chino yeshisin cherwate yeshi koron riure watani ndeyimte tagum josum te chu jete karsan tawa gumba chupan riu jelatani korontani tada korontani desi choda yures.
And so we have these view, meditation, and conduct, these 3 points. And so first, the view, may my mind become one with the Dharma. Without ascertainment and certainty of realization, then our mind will not turn towards the Dharma. So when we have ascertained this view and have certainty, then we have meditation, then we have something to practice with, and then we have the second point, the point of meditation may for the Dharma to go along the right path. And then once we have this meditation, then this meditation is our action. So we have our action. Once we have this action of liberating our thoughts, of self-arising and self-liberating, this is the action. And then the wisdom is the fruition, which is the 4th point for confusion to dawn as wisdom. And so what is it that we practitioners first need to be possessed of? We need to have the right view. When we have the right view, then what will follow with that is we will have meditation. So first we have the view, and that leads us to then be possessed of meditation.
Tawayuna and Gombayore. They can rest and nothing was open. Pesha Yona and Kachigore, Songjam, the Gravatan. Pesha Mena Songjava Yorevesena. Pesha Mena Songjava Yona, Trana Junkas, Tawa Mena and combated Yoma Est.
And so, as it said, if there is the view, then there is meditation. But however, without having an understanding of the view, then there is no meditation. And in the same way, if first we have some money, if we have capital, then we can engage in business. Without capital, we can't engage in business. And in the same way, once we have an understanding, an ascertainment, and an understanding of the view, then there can be meditation.
냠는제 땅에 하고 그랬어요. 냠는제 한 먹고 와대 간절했어요. 미시 매비 따랬어요. 미시 연나 거니까서는 냠는데네. 오간제 거야. 소소 냠뇽 요래 미시 요래. 근데 고치시 그랬어요. 간절해.
And so this view is something that we have when we have absolute certainty in the meaning. An absolute certainty without any doubt, and then we will know exactly how to practice. There will be a surety about it, there will be a certainty about it. When we're not certain about our practice, then that is a sign that we don't yet fully understand the view. And so it's with this complete inner certainty of the practice, or the inner certainty of the view, that brings us to this point of surety and confidence in our practice.
그러나 남이 그 담가라 때니 내가 알아서 샘그 니릭세야 돼 간절 주의마. 네 샘그 니릭 달라더니 간절 주의마 하고 있는 것이 여성아이나 아니 다 샘그 니릭 될 거라서나 더니 음식을 해서 그래서 르파세가 르파니 없는 지식을 했더니 니 tellan 미시 매송아이나 대니 없는 제 되니 시기를 해서나 대체 야 되더니 하고 말했더니 하고야 그네 각오를 했어. 그나가서 람가란로 하지 따부지라. 네 람가란로나 람가 tellat더니 미시 요송아이나 람가 때 모르고 말거든. 로사가 무기를 tel라야 고진이 랩터 그랬어. 람가라 미시 메스와이나 테네 가르스나 람가 테네 노르세게레스 노야기 닌카야 요레스.
And so it is based on receiving the oral instructions from the Guru that we are introduced to and come to understand the nature of one's mind. And receiving these oral instructions and then reflecting on this, one comes to be very, very sure of its nature. One ascertains with certainty, with beyond any doubts, one is then sure of its very nature, then one can meditate on it. When one is not sure about this and there is still some level of doubt, then there is not the ability to be able to meditate on this. So first, we need to be sure about something, to understand this view. Or otherwise, then it can be very difficult or a mistaken practice. In the same way, if we put an example, like if you know the way to go somewhere, if you know the route, like the roads, exactly the way to get somewhere, then you will go along the right road and you will arrive there. You will go the right way and you will reach your destination. However, when you're not really sure how to go, maybe some idea, but not really sure how to go, there's still some chance of going the wrong way, of it taking like the wrong road.
내가서 다메세나라 아니 돈니세나라 근데 돈데라 다 소소라 니시 여성아이나 아니 다메 곰난다 돈니 곰난다 다데가르사나더니 이 냠셀렌 다데 소소 하고 그래서 진짜가르세나 소소라 니시데 여러봐 니시 옆에 온거 아니 곰바데 놀고 말했어.
And when you come to the point of certainty on the meaning of selflessness or the meaning of emptiness, then you will know the way to meditate. You'll know the way to meditate in an unmistaken way on both of these, because you will already be certain about the meaning of selflessness and certain about the meaning of emptiness. So it's this assuredness, this inner knowing that is extremely important.
근데 이제 좀 알아서고 배나 샘라 배자 소아이나 샘데 셀크라고 저러 봤더니 샘 살와를 봤더니 레마레 살와레 되네 샘세테 살와인 차여랬더니 샘 살와인디 다소다 되니까 샘그 람진데 그 샘그 모데 가래 샘진 그 모데 그런 똥바로 봤더니 근데 인디 다소다 르파당 살와니 돈닥지 바로 봤더니 근데 르파당 때니 똥바니 같으니 가르스나 되네 이름에 봤더니 그 나고마서 나와당 동바 이름에 봐도 시에 봐도 다다 찍바래 르파당 동바니가 이름에 봐 똑송바이나 근데 응시지요나 다때 따와래 되니 근데 내가 수티 진드 셈이어 봤더니 셈이어티 다서 말은 셈듯네 르파래 근데 이제 르파당 대금 원 돈이래 되니 갔더니 이름에 나다 가르래 되니 르파당 동바 이름에 봐봐 르통 이름에 봐 똑송바이나 되니 티 진드 따와 진치메 봐요.
So the mind's essential nature is of luminous clarity, and its essence is empty. Essence is empty, and the nature is clarity. And when we take this as an inseparable union, we understand these things, these two, both the essential nature of the mind's luminous nature and clarity and emptiness as an indivisible union. Just as last evening in our discussion, we understood that we took appearance and emptiness in their indivisible union. They are actually an inseparable union. And in the same way, this nature of our mind, this aspect of awareness, this luminous aspect, and the emptiness aspect they are an inseparable union. And this is always this way, and this is always the case. And so when we meditate on this and hold the understanding of this inseparable union in our mind stream, sustaining that meaning, and so this is the meaning of meditation.
아니 알아서 그 샘들라 남자가 세거든. 알아서 샘들라더니 무적진 그 주식 때라 주기가 갈라면 르빠세게 때라 르빠. 르빠세나 가르스나 르빠세나 일거랑 르피도 통이 있던 거거든. 통화세 그러. 무슨 남가라다나 남 통근데 적sel라다나 통근데 야 그걸 봐라. 르빠 이미진선 그 통비여 거거든. 르빠세한테 간절했으나 그러더니 런진더니 그러더니 살고 옆이 진센 tel라더니 르빠라고 이랬어. 그 런진 파살우래네. 그 따나 통근데 자랑성 통근데 뭐시근데 르빠래. 통이던데. 근데 이제 또 르빠세한테 통이 있던데. 근데 이제 다 던져오더니 가르스나더니 다 르빠세한테 가르스나더니 그러더니 그 통화 그런 서비스 런진ren가. 근데 이제 다 되게 런진대양 뭐 동바 임바 되게 런진대양 돈이 임바 하고 소이나 근데 르빠당 동바 이름에 봐 착성하더니. 근데 이제 다서더니 가디 나가서 르빠티 진짜 인생이가 연구들 같더니 동 연구를 말아서 동구들 같더니 남가 동구들 하고 내가 서비스 런진 삼노당 시근가 되게 르빠랬더니 되게 뭐때 돈이 임바데 가서 드니가 이름에 봐 하고 소내나 르빠당 동바 이름에 봐 미신이에 소말에 미시지에 소말에 근데 이제 다 르빠당 동바니 이름에나 아니 때 따와래스 따와 롱도 제바 인서를 따와겠더니 롱라 해파래스.
And so the term that we use within the context of Dzogchen is this for this clarity aspect is awareness. So we have this knowing awareness, this knowing awareness that can see things, that can understand things. Right? We can look around. There is something that is aware of these forms and these people around us. And so we have this awareness, this clear knowing. However, when we understand this itself to be empty, then we can see that it is actually the union of this awareness and emptiness. And when we understand it in this way, then this is the view. We have arrived at the point of the expanse of the view.
근데 이제 다서 생각 안전대 같은 디진대 거랑 쌀거 안전대 살와다 되니까 다 사동세고 나를 동세고 찍바로 같은 사동을 동거 안전 거라다 근데 말이나 가랑 속에 안전 강한 바데 무엇이기요 말이야. 근데 들랑 니시니 무엇이 성바이나 니다테 가르스나 니 따와레스.
So we have these aspects of the nature of mind, which is luminous and which is empty, or emptiness, and we could say in the same way awareness, emptiness. That is the very nature of our mind, but we have not recognized it yet. When we do recognize its nature, realize its nature, this is the meaning of realizing the view.
대라 연든 쓴들 작가요레스. 무슨 남진 독서구군이더니 이와체네. 니 뭐 동바스. 랑진 살바스. 니 특지 근첩색이라. 근저고 연든 쓴 거랑지나. 되네. 들지네. 이와차가요레스. 이나 도서 창마가 연든 쓴 때 뭐 찍바레스. 뭐 찍바라. 쓴 때 찍바레스.
And so there are three, when we speak about the nature of the mind, generally we have these three qualities of the mind. The essential, the essence is emptiness. The nature is luminous clarity, and it is all pervasive compassion. But although there are these three divisions, essentially it is actually the same in meaning.
뭐야, 근데 당 이름에 봐인다. 되는 거서 다다 던져 샘세야 돼. 다 던져지 연den들 산ning 시 삼노 당성한테 지당 따와 던지게 딱 맞더니 다나가서 지더니다. 미게 리더니 zonde 셰바에 바담지 네버가와니 셰바를 디게 갑라더니 담지 네버가와가 차야가 쪼데 샘라 특성하더니 샘라 쪼고 바더니 샘 쪼고 인디다서 다 샘데 간다 차바르세더니 샘데더니 샘그 춘이 때라더니 라리 요르바더니 샘그더니 춘이데 기체그로 바더니 근데 인데 다서 되니 지레스 근데 인데다 제당 따와 돈다 찍바세네 되니 로 추선 조르 셰바나 당보 가르세네 되니 네 가서 아니 따와야 답바지요나 아니 로 추선 조아데 되니 용기요레스 되레스.
And so we have these three qualities which are actually inseparable in essence. And this inseparable essence is the ground, or it is the view. When we spoke today in our discussion about this precious support of the human body, what it really came down to making it precious was the mind, was the aspect of the mind. And so the very nature of the mind is the Dharmakaya. So this Dharmakaya essence, it is the ground, it is the view. When one has realized this Dharmakaya essence of mind, this is the authentic view, and then one has reached this first point of Gampopa's first point here, then the mind will be turned towards the Dharma.
냠슬린 되게 진정거와 다다그러 되니 맞주바 라서자 따와 되게 되니까 미시간을 녀나 미시되게 진정 용디 타서다 미시되게 진정 받으라 곰바세 그랬어. 되네마도 곰바세 록스 카가던데 지요 말했어.
So briefly, what is the true abiding nature of the mind? The essence is emptiness, the nature is luminous, and it is all-pervasive compassion. And when one reaches the ascertainment of this, then one has ascertained the view. When you have ascertained the nature of mind, and then you hold it in your mind, you rest in meditative absorption within that very realization, you rest in the unfabricated natural state. This is resting in the view, and there is no other view than this. Other than this, there is no other meditation.
nili topic nishitela tawase gres tawate jinjang batela gumbase gres ndiji munzeng.
And so what we should understand is when we ascertain the true abiding nature, this is the view. When we sustain the view, this is meditation.
Then ta lelawna tawa gumbase ni samlo jachimu kaya tango mas nili topic getini nili kar to hakona digre tamil hakona digre lelawna ten toni ko tonda ko na digre kar ko tonda hakona tawa ge jachechung yore ma to te tawa chada nili topic nishite tawa res ni tege nishite yoyongde taso te kar gum te nishite ge jinchang nyamna china te gumba res wata tenji tawa gumbase munjin che res.
And so it's actually quite easy. It doesn't need to be very complicated. When we have ascertained the true nature, whether it is selflessness or emptiness, this is the view. This is the view we then sustain in our meditation. We take our realization in whichever way we have realized it, and we sustain it. And so this is the meditation. So in this way, then we have the view and the meditation.
Ani tawa tang gomba niga songdan jeyong di taso tani karsa na tani ta tiga ngoni linga choba kar jena atela choba segres.
And then when we then take this as an inseparable union, when we take the view and meditation in an inseparable union, then that we engage in through the body and speech, then this is our activity.
Tende indi ta karchaso ani tawa gomba choba shakwa choba res ta tende indi tendo go sola tawa ya pochi yo Tene tawaya 지금 어디 타서 tene 가서 tene 곰바야 tene 상보여 봤더니 타죠 그랬어. 근데 이제 던져 따와 곰바니가 손던 내용도 타서 다 되게 줘봤대 tene 가서나. tene 자주 샘그지 샘바지 연송바 있나? 뒤따 곰대 가서나. tene 다 샘진 전라 판마통 경그 링아 줘봤지 요 말했어. 링아 줘봐가를 지나 샘진잖아 판토 말했어. 근데 이제 줘봐서 그랬어. 대파 이와 제송하이나 tene 바로 드신 바 들당 자주 샘비
And so when we have the proper view, it is sure then that we will have good motivation. And then when we embrace the mind of bodhicitta, and then we will be come to the third point of conduct. So we will have the proper view, meditation, and conduct. And in our action, when we embrace the mind of bodhicitta, then there is no action that will be engaged in that will not be for the benefit of others. And coming forth from this will be an ocean-like activities for the benefit of sentient beings.
그래서 지금 이바들라 갈색 그랬었는데 추 람던도 와서 그러더니 다추 람더 간지진로 그랬어 추 람더 로르 셰발라 람고니 공페라 로 그랬더니 람고니 공페다 마소나 추 람더 마소 말했더니
And so then with the second point, grant your blessings that the Dharma may turn into the path. If it is the authentic path, then we will be further and further progressing along the path. If there is no progression, then it is not the authentic Dharma.
왜? 되네 가르쳤네. 되네. 냠는 공펠세 그래. 냠 공펠세 그래. 냠는데 공펠세 어디 가서 남들 하는데 가서 냠는데 되네. 약 니마 약을 다와니 다와 약을 줘 그래. 냠는 로 약을 줘 그래. 또 만들어나 있나? 가서 칠 남들 로고 맵이 따. 그래서 되네. 그래서 칠 남들 로고 요나 니마 다와니 다와 그 약을 만들어 탑시 짜네요 말더니. 가서 또 만들어나 소소 칠 남들 로고 맵이 따래. 내가 가나 대신 지금 해봐야나 따금 지금 맵이 따래 하고서 지금한테는 또 만들어 짠 탑시요 말. 그럼 혹시 니마더니 니 가서 그래. 다와니 다와 로니 로더니 약을 냠는 로 그랬어. 대출 남들 로 그랬어.
And so it is a sign that when we're progressing along the path, that there will be progress in our Dharma practice, there will be progress in our experiences. If we are not progressing, then it is a day by day and month by month, and it is a sign that we don't have either the proper view or meditation. Because when we have the proper view and meditation, then in our practice, when we're practicing day by day, month to month, year by year, there will be a gradual progress. We will be progressing along the path.
배나 다와지가 냠는 지나요? 찍바찍장. 다와니 있음네요? 찍바찍장으로 왔더니. 로직라용더니 저와야지 짜는 조금의 성화이나 대가르스나 더니 출람든 로아래. 남들 로아 말아봤더니 남들 로가 맵이 따르스. 로가 옆이 딱 말해 맵이 따르스. 대 따때 하고서
So if after, let's say, 1 month or 2 months or even a year, we're not finding any progress in our Dharma practice, then is this, has our Dharma turned into the right path? So no, actually, if we're not progressing, then this is a sign that our Dharma has not gone along the right path. And so what we need to do is we need to be able to identify the sign, the signs of whether or not our Dharma has gone along the right path.
네, 다 출람도 간다지 로그래 했더니 출람도 로그 여나 로그 그랬더니 출람도 성벽에 딱 가려요. 어떠서든 하고 그랬어.
And so then we should then understand what are the signs that our Dharma is going along the right way, going along the right path.
단단히 다서 나라서 그 주님께서 다서 와서 니 말에 진짜 나라서 그 질라테니까서 녀제 체르 로그 연나가서 나타니 가서 그랬더니 다 나라서 그 질라테니 가서 출람도 로그 유비 딱 했어. tawa yang takwa yopi tares.
And if we find that with every passing day, then our compassion is growing greater and greater, and our wisdom is increasing ever more in our mind stream, then this is a sign that we have gone along the right path and that we do have an authentic view.
근데 답바 대바다니까 선한테는 영터니까 답바당 이치의 식체를 하고서 답바당 이치 니마니니마 식체를 그러니까 냥제야 식체를 아니 가르랍서 다지 셰르비양 가르서는 체를 로고여서 그래서 통마대 간절해서 나더니 주 남든 로고여 따라서.
And then furthermore, then our faith and belief and trust will be growing greater. It'll be growing stronger. Our compassion will be growing, our faith and trust will be growing, and our wisdom will further be increasing. And these are all signs that the Dharma is going along the right path.
근데 나서 가르쳐는 됩니다. 근데 다 다와 찌라 냠는지 아니 로직라 냠는지 소소기 질란 지르바자는 조금에나 소소기 샘제들란 지르바자는 조금에 성화이나 당연히 냠는 뭐버지 소기요 스티니 장가 뭐버지 싹이요서 판토고 말했어. 하고서 그때니까 판토고 맵이다 그러니까 그랬더니 소소기 냠는 게내 하마고나 따군들라더니까 그랬더니 니 준유비가 따라와. 그런 던데를 맞았지. 우리 따왔니 양탁바지 군바더니 니 양탁바지 질라요 성바이나 던데가르서더니 냠는 세야 됐더니 야르더니 공발람으로 왔다니 탑이요 말.
And if one has practiced for a period of a month or so, or a year, and one finds that there has been no change, no transformation in the mind at all, even though one has been practicing and collecting mantra, reciting mantra, and so on, then this has been to actually no avail. Because one hasn't put the essential points of the authentic view and meditation into practice, then this is a sign that there is some kind of a fault in one's understanding or view and meditation. Because when one practices through the authentic view in one's mind stream, then there is no way to stop the further and further increasing of the progress in one's practice and the transformation that will come of that.
Oh yeah. 근데 이제 다소 되니까 선하더니 니 줄람든 조다 문도 세야 되다니 간레에 선하더니다. 들라더니 따와야 고지 연나 제 될라테니다 때문에 간선하더니 니 줄람든 조그레스 주 야호용 그랬어. 주 남든 로서에 남라더니 야호진이 가서는 냠나 야호 잡이 돈데 냠나 공패던 쪽이 돈도 왔더니 근데랬더니 주 남든 로서 갔었더니 가서는 저 따와대 야호지 메스와이나 니 양탁바지 야호지 남든 로그레 베서나 근저에까지 갖고 왔더니 가서는 콜라더니 가서는 미시바요레 대초미요레 니 니시요 말 왔더니 니시 메송나더니 가서는다 간저진이 가서는 주 더니 남든 로그레
For our practice to identify whether or not our practice is going down the right path or not, then we can look to see if we have this a good foundation of the view. If we have a good foundation of the view, then things will be going well, our practice will be going well, and we will find that we are progressing. But if not, if it's not progressing, or if we don't yet hold an authentic view, then we will actually not be taking this Dharma down the very right path. And so this will be difficult to find progress in the practice. For example, if we don't hold an authentic view, it means we still have not properly understood, or we still have some doubts, or so on. And so this is not the correct view to hold in our mind during practice.
근데 다소 가서다 주 람든로와 세대 가서다 니 무슨 다지 강라 졌어 곰바라 자리인바 곰바 야포 요면세야데 간르지요 그래 따비 응이시 야포 지요나 그곰 야포 잡다 시그레스 따비 응이시 야포 지면나 아니 곰 야포 용고마와 뭐 던저레스 던저 인디 타서다 던저 우고 가서다더니 니다 따비 응이시 그네 가서 되게 진짜 냠는 집아들더니 곰바서 근데 인터다 던더우고 가르쳤는데 곰바치 요송바이나 다 대가르쳤는데 하더니 추야 호진이더니 냠는 공펠란 로터비 온디 타서 니 출람든 좋아하세 다든지 했어.
And so when we earlier were discussing the 4 examples of applying the view, meditation, conduct, and fruition to these 4 dharmas, then for this second dharma of Gampopa, for our dharma to go along the right path, and this was connected to the point of meditation. And so what is it that we need to first have to be possessed of if we're going to have good meditation? Well, that is first the authentic understanding of the view, the realization of the view. So first we have to really have this have ascertained and have this inner certainty beyond any kind of a doubt. And then we bring this into our practice, we hold this in our practice, and then we will have experiences without measure in our meditation that will follow along with this.
근데 됐다고 그 가서는 따왔다 곰바더니 약보 용벌제 받아 손도 그 깝대이나더니 투슴 자체무 제비였더니 배차 중 참마당 음알라 속바다 되니 망보라 중 자체무 투슴 제비라 투슴지네 아니 따왔대 땅나베 들지 무미냠스랭 베요랬더니 된대입니다. 당가서더니 조천세야다 아니 자천세야 든저 그 깝대라더니 가서 든저 투슴 자체무양 말고 봐 아니 라미 당가 그거니 타크를 갈선합니다. sem그 뭐데 무좀 아니 냠세래 요바든 리어레스 리어디다서다 대양 갈선합니다. 가서 타크를 따와던 공부 따금도서 타카 갑자기 되는 무좀 세거로 던지지는다나 다더니 종lik 자침부 투슴지야 당 던저게 되는 갈선아 대양더니 메나용 때라더니 제발 침부지요 말스.
And regarding the points of the view in meditation, according to the Sutrayana, they focus very strongly on the aspects of listening and reflection, or study and reflection, whether it's studying in the Madhyamaka or in the texts of logic, then they focus on the aspects of hearing and reflection. However, within the great perfection and in Mahamudra, then there is not the focus on the study and the reflection, but rather the focus is on the direct introduction to the true abiding nature from the master. And having been directly introduced from the master, then one has a direct realization of this nature. One comes to the very same understanding through a different method.
뭐야? 근데 이제 다섯 가지다. 그래서 흥아냠스를 받지나 사하 도지 타파서 흥아냠스를 받지인데도 흥아대가서 나타납니다. 탐마와세 까와메바세요. 아니 너 나오신 것들이 가서는 논리정 ngak kaptelata jeramda zoramda tapteni ramla pe mamboyores tammas kawa ya mambo goyo ba dog kapchigena kawa pe yerambolateni kapchil khona zegoya kapche tangme simse ne kawa tangme sama teni kawa chegoya teni songoyo yina ya ngak kapla teni mayemba teni ka sechi lichi la ya sanji ko komo topige tapang damga kono teni songoyo ba res teni indita so teni kawa mebase yores.
And so the great vehicle, the secret Mantrayana, is the vehicle that is said to be rich in method and not difficult. There are the methods of engaging in the generation and completion stage practices, for example, many different methods such as creation and completion stage practices. In the Sutrayana, it is said to take a very long time to come to full accomplishment of the path through the Sutrayana, the methods in the Sutrayana. It's said to take 3 inseparable kalpas to gain enlightenment. However, in the secret mantra, it is said that in one body, in one lifetime, with these methods, and the oral instructions, that it is not difficult, will not take long. One body, one lifetime, then one can gain complete enlightenment.
근데 인데 다섯 가르스나다 던저고 가르스나다 말아서 채찍 리찍 라양 던지 가르스나 줄그 돌진창 고마 톱탑이야 톱이 그때네 람던데 요성바이나 던저고 그때네 탑대 가르스나 강그단에 하고 거르스나 람이 당와라서 보고 소소소 그때네 디진데 단 소소라 예비 그다 샘그람진데 모시고라 모시다리 아니 되게 냠는 되게 진짜 냠는 그때네 진짜 어디 타서 따텔라더니 강세버리 따위가 날 군비가 날세네 드리온 그래서 따위는 군비나 쥐비나 세 따금 줬음 같으니 가르스나 여바 장직 마야마 따금 줬음 그 네트에서 하고 그랬어 따금 줬음 네트에서 하고 소이나니 세치 리치라 강세버리 그리고 토탑이야 어떻게 덴덴 코란탄 리용 그랬어.
And so, how do we know how to accomplish this path to bring us to the enlightened state of Dharmakaya Vajradhara? We understand this through receiving the oral instructions from the Lama, directly receiving these instructions, and then ascertaining these and gaining a certainty, realizing these instructions, and then meditating on these instructions, sustain one's understanding of these instructions in one's mind stream. And then one will have the essential point of the view, the innermost essential points of meditation, and innermost essential points of action, and there will be nothing needed other than this to gain complete enlightenment in one body, in one lifetime. It is sure to be achieved. What's really just extremely important for us to know, the most important thing for us to know are the essential points of the proper view and proper meditation. And so then, knowing these proper inner essential points, then one's Dharma will go along the right path. It's a sure thing. And why is that? It's because one knows the inner essential points of what is essential to know, to practice, then one knows those, and so one is sure to go along the right path. And so that is why having these inner essential points will assure that our Dharma will bring us to the second point. We will be granted the blessings that the Dharma will go along the right path.
마똑 록똑 태숨색을 받더니 마똑 록똑 태숨 나서 받더니 여성바이나 줄람들 로그레베스나 근데 조금만 받더니 근데 이제 마똑 록똑 태숨 나서 매바 배나 흥악다고 지기다 삼로당다 다시 봐 족친당 착친다고 지기나 근데 라미 망악 끝나 당당 받더니 라미 망악 끝나 당다나 줄람들 로그레베더니 그 줄람들 로그레 받더니 그래서는 그 tani lama thammo ge tani mangak tam tani tamba chi nyamne te la lami mangak ka tani somba namshin chi ni lami mangak na te di nyamne te ya ta pa lamdan roge yores e chu lamdan roga se tani res.
So when our mind is full of conceptual thinking, ideas, notions, doubts, and suspicions about what is to be practiced along the path, and our Dharma is not sure to go along the a right path, the authentic path. But when we receive the oral instructions from the Lama, from the Master, and we practice them exactly as we have been instructed, then how will our Dharma practice go? What will be the result of that? The result of that we will bring our practice along the right and the authentic path.
근데 다른 이제 다소 가르쳐는 된다. 주 남든 와서 주 남든 줬을 때라 되니다. 제가 근데 되니 가서 봤더니 주 남든 줘야 되라 되니 남이 되니 망아 요파로 왔더니 아니 랑그 냠뇨 요파 된데 연구했어. 랑그 냠뇨요 남이 망아요 된데 죄송하이 아니 주 남든 줘 그랬어.
And so it's when we have these two aspects. We have the oral instructions and we have experience. So with having received the oral instructions and with the experience, then this brings us into this second point, for our practice to be going along the right path.
근데 주 남든 줘 와서 다 디지라 가르쳐서는 된다. 근데 줄 안던져 아니 람트와세 와세게르데 람트와세 안테 가르스나 되니다 무슨 다지 가발라 저바레스나 무슨 쪼발라 저바레스.
And now we come to the third point. May the confusion be dispelled along the path. And to which of the view, meditation, and conduct did we connect this third point with? We connected it with the conduct or the action.
왜? 다때 저바당 간다 저바레 선나서 다지 시바게 따와다 근데 공부하더니가 송던데리오나 아니 가르스나 되니 저바 요래 시바에 봐. 근데 이제 저바가 가르치기래서는 저바 되겠더니 라시 정초던 저그랬어. 하고서 쪼바데게 소소 창아자가 말했어. 소소치 담샤가야 말했어. 쪼바데게 소소치 담이야 말했어. 하고서 쪼바데게 가랑서 남또 말아 따자가 말해. 좀시 쪼바라시 정초던 저거래. 어떤 데도 쪼바세 그랬어. 아니 트바 이시스 시아송하던 근데래서 아마도 남트바세요. 트바데 세송하던 근데래서.
And so we discussed earlier that when we take our understanding of the view and meditation as an inseparable union, then what follows from that is action. So we have the view, meditation, and action. And so when we take the view and meditation in an inseparable union in our practice, then we come to the point of the thoughts naturally arising and then being able to be naturally liberated. We have this point of liberation upon arising. This is the action of liberation upon arising. This is the dispelling of confusion.
그래서 주님은 제가 이것은 좁아 뭐지지 내가 아무나 뭐지니 다마지 강서 그래 좁아 되게 되니 강서 그랬다 리지나 약사래 리지나 약사 말이지 좁아 되게 소소 담진으로 창조다 소소 창조 그래 하고서 창세나 하고서 하대 저는 지 담이야로 좁아 군이나 파 줘야 제도 좁아래 대 하고 말이야 소게 좁아게 지 소소 담이야서 자래 리지나 한테 좁아 약고 해야 되네 근데 레스트 리냐면 제 말했어
And so this is actually an action, an activity that frees us, that liberates us. Actually, in a lot of cases, practitioners, take up a lot of different actions. Oh, should I do this or not do this? Maybe do this, not do that. Actually, in this way, our activity becomes something that binds us rather than liberates us. And what we're looking for within our Dharma practice is something that liberates us, not something that binds us.
아니 산지가 알아서도 좁아 땜바데 가르려서는 조약 제대로 받네. 알아서고 좁아 냠는 제한테 가서 차약 제대. 진짜샤는데 진짜 지금 말인데 진짜 조주만 보지 땅으로 받네. 소소 릭스리에나라 검시에나라 되게 조주 뭐보지 땅으로 봐. 근데 좁아데 가르쳤어. 알아서 지 남이야 작성하더니. 또하면 차야 작성마도 뒤 줘야 참아서. 근데 좁아서야 돼 라시랑 줘서 좁아랑 저게 제대 말했어. 그 졸마트는 되네 내가 내 제고는데 지나 약사를 산다더니 코스는 조금 한번씩 땅을 좁아대 알아서 지 남이야 차로 그랬어 차야 차로 좁아서 된지 말했어.
And so the Buddha has shown the path in order for us to be free of these, free of being bound in this way. But through the way that we practice, whether it is the way we have trained or just our habitual way of doing things, then we actually are all bound up by our practices, by that which we are doing. And what we are looking to get to is the point where we have this natural liberation. We come to the point of natural liberation. That is actually the reason the Buddha has shown us the path in order for us to be liberated from these bindings. But rather than we think, oh, I wonder if this, might be a good practice. Maybe I should do this, or debating, maybe one should do that. We actually end up being bound by our conceptions and our choices, bound by our own very actions, where what we're looking to do is to be liberated from them.
뭐야? 근데 나서 주바 가시기 좁아대라니 담이야게 제대로했어. 주바 가시기 좁아대라니 조야게 제대로했어. 그 가wan 조야나 소소 담거라.
And so there are some practitioners who practice just to be kind of bound up.
좁아라 액센스 말해. 떡은 줬으면 좁아대. 주바 가시기 좁아대라니 담이야게 제대로했어. 나서 주바 가시기 좁아대나 조야게 제대로했어. 맞던데.
And there are some practitioners who choose their activities in order to be all bound up. And then there are others who choose the activity to be liberated. And so we have come to a point where we can decide for ourselves what we would like to do. But in between these two, there is the danger of making a mistake.
남쟁가라서 나랑서 주바인 항이 주냠스 랭기여서라더니 나랑서 검작시야 찍고는 그 말했을 때 나랑서 검작시야 찍고 그 말아 나랑서 고야대 검작야 말했어요 하고서 나랑서 고야대 가를 했으니 나랑서 고야대 줘야 되랬어. 되네. 줘야 돼. 줘송와이나 검잡나 맞잖아 잡을지요 말했을 때 그래서 줘고라 왔더니 줘송 검작야 그 돈한테 줘야 제대로 왔더니 근데 이제 맞잖아 검자다니 판토그래. 근데 더고 말했어.
Actually, as Dharma practitioners, meditating for us is not necessarily what we need. It's not the activity that is really needed. We don't need to meditate. What we need is to be liberated. If we are liberated, have a way to be liberated, whether we have meditated or not, doesn't matter. The point is to be liberated. If we meditate without being liberated, then what is the use?
검잡고 했더니 검잡잡니 좀 마시나 가르쳐 그랬더니 깔리 가야로 왔더니 던져졌더니 검잡지 땅야고 인지를 돼 이나 졸리 끝나대 하고 그러 대마시 성이 나더니 검잡니 좀 마시나 반토고 말았어.
And so we might think, some say, I need to meditate, I need to do more meditation, I need to go meditate. But if one isn't being liberated, then what is the very use? Now it's good to meditate, of course. Meditation is good, but actually, what we need to know are the very quintessential points of practice to bring into that to be liberated. Otherwise, even if we meditate and we're not liberated, then this isn't really bringing us much benefit.
근데 상가랑서 냐면 전에 검시야 찌부근지 그 말했어. 졸리게 하고 그랬더니 졸리게 쪄버렸어.
So it's not only meditation that we need, we actually need to know the way to be liberated, this method of liberation, and this method of liberation is this third point of conduct.
근데 인데서 가르쳤더니 곰바스를 하더니 곰바다네 가르쳤다. 마술네다. 따와서 곰바스 딱 쪄바스네 저거 열봐. 근데 인데서 딱 쪄바대 가르쳤더니까 나라서 가르쳐서는 쪄바대 나라서 속 줘야 되네 남진지 않았더니 촉사야 같아. 손놈사. 촉 조야라. 촉이 무슨 촉. 손놈사가 촉 파시그라. 촉 조야다. 되니까 sana 던로글라 가르스니 신밤에 반 전밤에 봐. 되니 쥐바 가르이 나더니 조야게 제대로했어. 레마 또 쥐바 세도 소소 담야게 제대로 말했어. 차야게 제대로 말했어. 근데 이제 그거랑 속에 저땅 득땅 삼도 땅땅 삼았더니 만족 상황이나 가르쳐는 그래. 근데 되게 좁아도 소소 남이야 창으로 그랬어. 창야로라 남이야색으로 왔다. 근데 장나더니 저터고 말아. 근데 가서는 소소치 담치 때 남이야데 소소고 줘 봐라. 어떤데 인데 줘야 말했어. 근데 인데 좁아 제가 돈도 때 가서는 좁아랑 시랑 줬으네. 근데 지달이나다 가서는 저터 가지고 그랬어. 랑 저터 가지고 그랬어. 대 좁이게 내랬어.
So that's the regarding meditation. So we have these three: view, meditation, and conduct or action. And many practitioners just, in terms of their activities or their conduct, then they engage in gathering the accumulations, just trying to collect merit, to perfectly to collect a lot of merit. But actually what we need to be doing in our activity, whatever we do, we should be doing for the purpose of being liberated, not clinging to any accumulation, not being attached or clinging, but to be liberated. Not just kind of, tying ourselves, tighter and tighter and tighter and really, creating more of these tethers. That's not what we're looking to do. We are looking to bring our activity to the point where then the thoughts are arising and liberated. They naturally arise and they are naturally liberated. That's the point. That is the point of liberation.
Oh yeah. 근데 다섯 때 쥐바랑시 랑조든 좋다. 다들 지금 용디 다섯 때니 강습을 했더니다. 대했더니 가서는 강습. 람 처바세바스. 단 처바랑시 그 세송아. 처바 코나 랑조도 차마 송아더니. 처바 랑조도 차송아. 람 처바세바세. 선바대로 왔더니. 람 처바세바스 처바 간디치 세송. 처바 코나 그 뭐들 따용데 다섯고 가서는 뭐대 무슨 용데 다서 그랑시랑 줬다고 그러거든. 근데 이제 출발 간지니 무슨 말에서는 다지 따와요 같네. 따와 되게 가르친다. 가서 출발 니 가르친다더니 남도 야호샤나다 대착샤나다 그 남바다 잡을 가요 말씀네. 그 뭐대 무슨 용데 다서더니 그거더니 가르친다더니 뭐대다더니 가서 잡으려 말와. 근데 인디 다서더니 그 랑시랑 줬던 로비요 같은 지제스.
So the point of action is to be able to liberate our arising concepts, for them to arise and then naturally be liberated. And this is what clears delusion, as it says in our third line. Grant blessings for delusion to be cleared away along the path. And this very action of self-arising and self-liberating is what clears away the delusion. And actually, it is naturally cleared away. How is delusion dispelled? In this point of action, it is naturally dispelled. It is naturally cleared away. It is cleared away and dispelled into its own essence. The view clears away delusion. And how is it that it naturally clears away our delusion? When an afflictive emotion or a thought arises in our mind, we should not examine into it, look into it, whether it is good or bad, or follow it in any way. But rather we should look at the essence of that arising thought. In essence, there is no difference between anything that arises in our mind stream. The very essence is all the same. When we examine the essence and look directly at it, that is when that thought is then liberated. 남 노르송 바다도 찍바라데. 출발세 때도 딱 가는 노르바르스 남 똑라바데. 남 똑거랑 출발바데. 출발세는 갑자기 가서 뒤질라
nima taba sharda yegitene number tokwa jinga nam tok jinga nam tok de la chwase ge reste ta nam tok de yegitene ngoshi songba yina ni chwa rebe nam tok de ngoshi songba yina chwa rebe tin chwa marwa de nam tok kro ngoshi songba yina deni garse chno yishis char baste ne garse na de chno de ko na de yishida char sare ni lam chwa se songra wa de sel segra me ba cha songra lam chwa 세바스 어떤 지대다 공 저와 그런 거 남진데 모시고 그랬어 저와 그런 거 남진데라 미시고 그랬어 미시요나 저와 남진 거 그랬더니 센로 그랬어
So what exactly is delusion? What is it? When we say that it is a mistaken path, so this very thing is delusion. This very thought is delusion. It is thoughts that are delusion. Thoughts themselves, these very thoughts are what is this confusion and delusion that we look to dispel along the path. And so if we recognize an arising thought in its very essential nature, if we recognize it for what it is it still delusion? No, it is no longer delusion, for we have recognized its essential nature, and it is no longer delusion. And so in that way, then, confusion has now dawned as wisdom. And when we gain certainty into the essential nature of thoughts, this delusion is put to its death. And this is the way that this fourth point comes about, for a confused perception to dawn as wisdom.
출바 세야라 값사나더니 사양 공고 말했어. 나양 다고 말했어. 나양 다고 말하고 나도 나니 판도 그래 좋았어요. 근데 다시라도 말. 대세다라 봐도 저던 거는 제대로 이나 자니 한지라 판도 말대. 사양 다고 말했어. 나양 더니 사고 말에 나다고 말해. 님부 직접 쪼대 가르쳤으나 출바 코랑 거 엄신데 주니 동반이 뭐 하고 소이나 니시여나 때 님부 직접 했어. 님부 직접서 하고 소. 님부 직접 됐어. 됐으니까 님부 적도 제가 됐어.
So for us to completely dispel delusion, there is no reason to meditate on the deity. There is no reason to collect our mantras, to recite our mantras, but rather what we need to know is the essential points of practice, knowing that the essence of the arising thoughts is Dharmakaya emptiness. Realizing all that arises in the mind stream as Dharmakaya emptiness is the one single supreme method that will put delusion to its death.
근데 나서더니 님부 찍쳐서요. 님부 찍쳐서요. 같은. 된다고 그랬더니 님부 찍쳐 요송아에 나타니까 선나타니다. 님부 레전드 된다고 그래서는 그거 말했어. 아니 너가 감다지 옛날에다 빵랑글람니 빵랑글람내라 님부 찍쳐때 요 말 같아. 님부 찍쳐때 매운데 타서 딱 가르쳐놨더니 네 방송했더니 너 잠깐 님보라 뭐득바 고마스. 이 셔당게 님보라 갈고 그랬더니 조파 고미야세니. 드니 뜨먹게 님보라더니 땡종 공발라서다 님보 카가 송여봐. 옛날에 님보 초글람데다더니 된루고 님보 카가 된데 땡고 그래서 드니 그거 말했어. 드니 가르스는 출발하면 임바 그런 거 뭐한테 무송송이나 출발 안 좋다 참로 그랬어.
So when one has this one single supreme antidote, then it's all you need. If you have it, you don't need to recite mantra. You don't need to enter the sutrianic path of engaging in what to adopt and what to discard, or of applying all of the separate antidotes to the different afflictive emotions. For example, within the practices of the Sutrayana, then for desire, then we meditate on the uncleanliness or ugliness. for anger, then we cultivate patience, meditate on patience, and for unawareness, ignorance, then we study interdependence. But however, when one has this one single supreme antidote, there is no reason to rely on all of these individual antidotes for the different afflictive emotions, the different types of thoughts, because in essence they are all the same, and all we do is relying on this single supreme method of looking directly at the essence, recognize the essence. In that recognition, then they will be liberated.
Tenrichi som na chirba se te lamda che bares ten concept ten chirba lamda che som ba ta chirba te karsa na ten concept ten iwa kar gum dra ten chirba khonang ge ten mo te mu song ta le na ten ni karsa na ten ni shi ji yang ta ba te ge ma la jang ten chirba te ko rang zhou la chang zhong da ten de yin de ni chirba te lamda che som ba res ten.
And then confusion becomes the path. In this way, we bring confusion along the path. For when these things arise and we look at their essence, we ascertain them in our certainty of the view, they are naturally liberated. And in this way, this very confusion, delusion that has arisen has become the path.
지랑서 님고 직접거 가서 왔다네 람데랑 이시 연이 냠난 제송바이나 체직라 가서나더니 네 주기 공부 토비야다 체직라 상직 공부 저기엔 세야 되다 레와체 쳐야지 그랬어.
And so now if you have this one supreme antidote and you bring your recognition of this and your certainty of this onto the path of practice, then it is my great hope that in one life, in one body, then you will reach the enlightened state of Vajradhara, the state of Buddhahood.
tenere ma to tenere go gasana lamgan net to hama ko somaina chechigla sanji komba drugin senatene concept tane te 가족과 친구잖아요. 돈족과 친구 자꾸 말했어요.
But then, if we don't know these, the quintessential points of practice, as we have been discussing, then to say that I will practice and I will gain the supreme enlightened state in one body in one life will be something that we can say in words only, but not ultimately accomplish.
tenere 인다 저거스나 냠nen세 때 냠nen가 네테 하고 버스 냠nen가 네테 하고 소이나 드니가스나 냠nen세 상주 공부해야 돼 타랑 보지를 요 말했을 때.
And if we know these very essential points, these vital points of practice, is it said to be that accomplishing the state of Buddhahood will be very distant, very far away?
진생가르스나 나랑서라 타 니슈데 나랑서가 셈레스.
No, it's not, because actually what is said to be closest to all of us right now, it's our own mind. And yet the thing that is closest to us actually is the hardest thing for us to realize. And it's the closest thing to us, but we don't understand its nature. Although it's so very close, we don't understand its very nature.
소소라 타니슈 요바 소소라 티진데 리다 요바 리세나 하고서 머니 냠도 리니 심니 전에 텔레 리세가 왔더니 조분이 사타나보니 로니로 냠도 나타 코니 pen 리오르 와 텐주 가서 토마메 바니 셈데 가라서 리다 요르더니 나서나 냠도 요 타랑보 요마 나서 냠도 리 체송니 뭐 마시르더니 리 체송니 10체송니 하고서 냠도 디니데 하고 근데 나서라 10체송 10세는 냠도다 10바 족보니 냠도라 씹으러 봤더니 저는 총총이 족보지가 진이 다다바트 냠도라 뺀 지송바래 지바 씹바 냠도라 검체송래 냠도라 검체송네 짜랑하셔래 뭐 마실 때네 하고서 샘대 가라솔라 때 딱바 냠도여 가라솔라 리치니 뭐 마실었어.
And because it has been so close to us for so long, we don't recognize it, we don't see it. It's become so like common to us that we don't see it, we don't recognize it. It's like when two friends are together for a long time, grow up together, they don't have like this objective view of each other because they have been together for so very long. And as it is with our very own minds, we have from beginningless time been in this same situation that we don't really recognize the actual situation.
가디 나가서 띠따트 냠도 열어 왔더니 무슨 따트 냠도 열었어. 연아야 판마터스 그런 맛이었어.
And though, you know, it's been with us, we're, you know, kind of stuck with this all the time. We have this right here, but so far it hasn't benefited us very much.
가서 무엇이 봐야 무엇이 촉촉이 열었어. 내가 오랬을 때네. 가리 갖고 좀 말했어.
Actually, it's like we're like on the verge. We're so close to being able to recognize it. We're just kind of a hair away from it, but still we haven't done it yet.
안도 견딘 주변에서는 기바 전부지 열었어. 상지 토비 남대 타마랑 송이 한 거. 상지 토비가 남대 타라 뭐 요말을 송이 그랬습니다.
And so the master from Amdo, Gendin Chopel, Master Gendin Chopel, has said that actually Buddhahood is not at all distant.
때 학관 선바이 나더니 탄이슈레 딱바 냠돌라 열어와 코더니 가서 학고 찍지나 학고나 람성 깨찍만 찍라 형 가서는 그 무엇이 촉거와 근데 이제 알람전세한테 무엇이 숨었더니 되니 졸리게 때 학고 선바이나 되니 가서는 깔리 갖고 좀 말았어 근데 이제 다서더니 조파 첨보당 자자 첨보라서 그 깝텔라더니다 그래서 그런 거 나랑 소다디 딱 냠도 요약을 샘대가 함전데 서버지는 못 찍게 그랬어요. 산들지는 못 찍게 열어. 대비 못 찍지바 남생 그랑 소 무엇이 송바이나 되니 가서는 대 가서는 깔리 갖고 찍다 찍 뒤쳤더니 깔바 망보고야 되니 지금 말했어. 로카시게 나라야 그런더니 컨셉을 했더니다. 대더니 들어왔더니 또 시그레스 했더니 자토야더니 그 달람 송여 버렸어.
And so we're so close to being able to recognize this. Actually, it's said to be not far away. We are so close to being able to be recognize this very thing. And once we do recognize it, then the accomplishment of the enlightened state is then not far behind, just a a single year or just a few years behind. And with the practices of the great perfection of Dzogchen and of Mahamudra, then that which is almost too close for us to sometimes recognize through methods of direct introduction and signs, then we're introduced to that in order to be able to recognize it.
근데 나랑 속 남쪽 때 타랑 보지 저 잘했을 때 나랑 속 남쪽 때 타랑 보지 깔리 갖고 지 저 잘했을 때 근데 정해야 남쪽 그랬어 타랑 보다 깔리 갖고 정해야 남쪽 그랬어 근데 리 라를 따나요 나랑 속 그랬더니 남쪽 리 라를 따져 그랬어 리 라오야 남쪽 그서 저 그래라 남쪽 거랑 그 샘그 깔리 갖고 정해야 샘래 하고서 타랑 보정 그냥 샘래 근데 다 니오더니 가서나 양 샘구서 더 그랬어. 들렸지 다서 샘세야 등이 니바 전부 열에라 봐. 들렸어.
And so, how is it that we all have this understanding that we think that Buddhahood is very difficult to achieve and very distant, but this is just a mental projection. This is just something that we have created, a concept that we have created. And in the same way, we can create the same understanding and concept of thinking Buddhahood is so close. There is no difference. We can create the same concept. as we discussed yesterday, the power of the mind is extremely strong.
lam chilwa selwa segira lam chilwa selwa se de kadre sena tenita ngaranso chunyap salyan de tasuta ngaranso gijela ngaranso nima tapa tenika sena ten namto mo jila sharda gyer ngaso terang chibu jana ngaso tanoni tata part tanon shokin tata part ngaranso jila namto mo chi shatsare tozo tamchere jende churiona ngaso churape mo chatsare tenjes.
And so then we pray here in these four dharmas, grant your blessings that confusion may be dispelled along the path. But every day, actually, we have a great number of thoughts arising in our minds on any given day. If we take today, for example, from the time that we have woken up, until this very time, think about how many thoughts have arisen in our mind streams till this point.
So tanoni tata nam tokpe mongbo ji choma chebe jila lep chares je chares nam tok sha cha dinani ngaso jache kase ji chotabi yore tane mang cheba chotabi yo mars ngaso chotang na te hakko sona tanani tata parta tane nam tok kase sha na ani tase ji tene chura mongbo chana ta kase na tene ngaso tene kase na tene chura pe mongbo cha lam koni kompela jogro nam tok kase mongbo sha na ngaso kase na tene chura tase mongbo cha chura ta kase tase mongbo cha la ina lam tse karsana tene nyam to kompela jogrwa kona tenjes.
And so actually there have been so many opportunities for the liberation of these thoughts that have arisen. If we think about how many have arisen to this very point right now, how many have we been able to directly liberate? Maybe some, but mostly probably we haven't been able to liberate all of these arising thoughts today. But if we think about it, then these have been opportunities to be, rather than delusion, to be liberation. For as many arise and that many we can liberate, to that extent that arise, to that extent can be that much liberation.
Any captain, Nimon Namtola, so for the Trulik Nati Hakoswana, Nimon Namto Shanat and Nikas, Niba Yorves, Nibas and Hakosan, Niba Jun Yorves and Yomaris. Kokase Sharnakas and Sharna, Sharwa Ganyang Mars, Sharwa Magas. Gazana Jikumarwa, Cookers and Chuma Chandrova, the Sharwa Gagumars, Cookers and Antonio Namtocase, Shanayon Carsanatani, they will more than Musayon de Tasso, Namtochi Shanayon, who more Musanani, Cochini Tombanet, and Rancho the Chandros. In Antonio Bad, the Lemna, who more than Musanatani Carsana, Rancho Chandros. Then in the Tasso, Namtocase, Jinji Mepa Shana, Trua Jinchi Mepa, then the Chitini Lepa, Tacorat and Jugat and the Carsana.
When we know this vital point of liberating our afflictive emotions, our arising thoughts, then they no longer have any power over us. They are no longer any problem. There is no fault to find in them whatsoever. And there's no reason to try to block them out. Actually, to try to suppress them or block them would be not okay, because this would then be engaging in a fabricated activity. So we don't look to block them out, but rather, however many afflictive emotions or thoughts arise in our mind, then we just look at their very nature. In recognizing their own nature, they have no power over us, and then they are liberated. And so the way that thoughts arise in this way, then that was the first one that came along, and then it was recognized for its very essence was recognized, and it was liberated. And then what will follow that is a second thought, and again that will be recognized and liberated, and then the third will come, naturally arising and naturally liberated. When we can sustain this type of action, then we will have this, when we already have this constant stream of thoughts arising in our mind stream, but when we have the point of liberation, we will turn it into a constant stream of liberation arising in our mind stream.
Oh yeah, that really good. Not the hammer of Soina, Nimon to Sharnatani Garsanatani, Nibayores, Juniors, Jimson Garsanatani, Kogatanitan, or the giving it the later, them giving it leaders in the council. They really good. Not the Russian Adrotam Mandro on the Tasso, take a gamer gave lead a sucker rotten. Lead a Saxon by a legion on the Carjigre. Then Corona Jag, Jechegra. What in the China Mungiores?
And so what is the process then when we do not understand this vital point of liberation? Then when through these arising thoughts and afflictive emotions, then they do have some power and there is a fault in them, because in this way we have these positive and negative things rising, and without being liberated, then they are the source of our collecting the different karmas that then cause us to be bound to samsara. So knowing the essential points of how to liberate that which comes into our minds, the importance of that cannot be underestimated.
Oh yeah, then that's so got it. Truly, not the Hako song and around Nimari, and around Sugila, Tatan Top, Dan Yumonkander, Tishagayanayo. Tig, truly good, not tap telatini, darling around Sotonicas, Trura Jincheme, but you want to be arrested.
But when you know the way to liberate them, when you know how this very method to liberate them, then when we have this stream of thoughts arising in our mind, it turns into this unbroken stream of liberation, thoughts that have been liberated.